Hello, you're watching Double Talk with Mark Steffen and Michael Mandel. Oh, Mark's not here. Mark's not here. I gotta look that way. Mark's not here because he's doing the play Merchant of Venice this week, and it's a big production. Everybody should go see it. We're going to have an interview with the co-producers just after this. We also have a show with this on gin. As for current news, well, pretty much everything is the same as it was last week. Both the Confederate flag and Bill Cosby are still in trouble. The market went up and the market went down, and when it went down, it then went up. And also there are now 400 Republicans running for the nomination for president, for virtually all of the senators, House representatives, and governors. Right now we're going to go to our interview with the producers of, Merchant of Venice at the Rio Grande Theater.
I'm Algernon DeMassa, and I'm one of the founders of Donia Honor Repertory Theater. DART, as we call it, started as a project with some of us in a room talking about how we'd like to start a company that can do Shakespeare and classics and could blossom into a professional company. And 3 of us who are in that room are producing our first project, which is The Merchant of Venice.
How did the 3 of you manage to come together for this?
Actually, Patrick Payne, who is very active with the Las Cruces Community Theater and himself is a professionally trained actor, convened us and invited a bunch of us. There were people who hadn't met even, and Teddy Aspen Sanchez was in that room, Darren Cabot, who teaches theater at Centennial High School. They had me, Joseph Lopez, and we just started talking about what we would like to do, what kind of work we'd like to see in the community. And through that, eventually, we came around to doing The Merchant of Venice and Joseph directing it.
Have you chosen your next production?
No, but we are talking about it. We actually have this idea for next summer. What we would like to do is pick 3 plays that we can perform in rep and have an ensemble that does all 3 plays on a rotating basis for the whole summer.
Is there a reason you're doing these plays during the summer?
Yes, primarily right now it's because a lot of people work and do other things during the regular season, and we don't want to take personnel away from that. The summer is sort of a more manageable, shorter block of time where we can do things and some people are more available.
Is there anything else you wanted to say, just to get in there?
Come on out. Come out and see us. Tell us what you think. Talk to us, because we really want our work to be a dialogue with our community.
All right, thank you.
Very welcome.
I'm Darren Cabot. I am one of a handful of kind of founding members of DART, and I, in this production, am playing Bassanio.
I am Joseph Lopez, and I'm also one of the founding members of DART, and I am the director for the show.
And how did you 2 happen to come together to form this group?
Well, we both actually met while we were at New Mexico State here, way back when. Darren was a few years ahead of me, and when we both got back into town, I mean, we both like doing the same work. We have a pretty similar approach to work and to Shakespeare, and we wanted a space for doing theater that didn't exist in this town. We wanted to do new types of theater, classical theater, and we kind of all found each other as fellows in doing that.
Yeah, I think it was really originally Joseph and Patrick that sort of sparked the conversation about, hey man, let's put together a group so that we can do the sorts of things that we want to do the sorts of things that Las Cruces' audiences don't get to see very often, which does include Shakespeare. That we get it at the university at times, but not very often. And that's something we were all passionate about. So that's what we're starting with, but we hope to branch out to other types of theater that don't frequently get done in the area.
Is there any reason why you chose The Merchant of Venice specifically as the first production?
Well, Merchant of Venice has really been a pet project of mine for a long while. ever since I was in grad school. It was a play that I was interested in just because there's a lot of themes in The Merchant of Venice that are still really relevant today, that exist right now. Things like cultural and racial tension, alienation of immigrants. But at the same point in time, it's very much a comedy about love and friendship, and it kind of became this brand new thing. Darren, he mentioned something in one of the rehearsals about he noticed Bassanio stripping away all his outward shows and appearances and all this ornament, and it led me to kind of start going around. This play really is about stripping away the outside of what we are, and when you do that, what happens to us? Now, some characters thrive under that circumstance, some characters fold. We even learned that the Venetians themselves are forced to take another look at their society and how it works by the treatment of Shylock. So it really kind of became a play about something altogether different.
Now, one of the themes is religious intolerance, Christian against Jew in this play. Do you have any inkling as to how controversial this might be?
Well, Shylock never really... I never associated him exclusively with the Jewish community. I mean, he is Jewish, and that's an inescapable factor. But even in my director's notes, I've put that he is the alien element here. He's like Othello. He is a contrast to the people that are here. And when we insert Shylock into this Venetian world, what happens? It's us finding out what happens, and we find out that there's a lot of issues that we need to deal with that. Religious tension, cultural tension, as I was saying before. I don't think that Shylock, that all of this makes Shylock the hero, that because Venice treats him the way that they do, that he's a hero, but that I think the play has something a lot to say about when a society treats its newest members in the same way that the Venetians treat Shylock, they create monsters. Shylocks are born every day in places where the newest members of society are told every day that they're not welcome, and that's a tragedy.
I think there is something inescapable about the play, which you sort of mentioned, that there is definitely a lot of prejudice, particularly directed towards Shylock in this play. And being one of those actors that's playing one of those characters that is prejudiced against the Jewish community in the play, I don't think you do this play, obviously don't do this play saying we condone the treatment of Shylock, the oppression of his people. Nor do we condone Shylock's response in how he seeks taking his revenge. But there is something to be said for presenting something like this and saying, look, these aren't Elizabethan issues. These are issues that are still present in our current time. There are still people that blindly have that prejudice against different types of people. And that's ultimately what you wind up with. I was just reading an article about how a criticism of the play and talking about that it's as though the fifth act is unnecessary, that you get this kind of completion at the end of the fourth act, at the end of the trial, with Shylock sort of being defeated and everything, and then you get this lighthearted thing with lovers in the fifth act, and it's like, what was Shakespeare doing there? And I think it's kind of showing that these characters are blind to what they've done to this man, and I don't think that it's wrong to present this, not, again, condone the behavior, but to present it and so, just so that people can be reminded of it, that this sort of behavior does exist.
Yeah.
Now, the play opens this week. It opened Thursday, and it ran Thursday and Friday. Tonight, it's also running, Saturday night, and a Sunday matinee. When else is it running, and where?
It'll be running on the 23rd and 24th at the Reinerson House.
Now, this play also has quite a few memorable lines in it. Some of the more famous lines from the Shakespearean canon, and even English literature to boot. So, like the quality of mercy is not strength. It's one of my favorite lines. The concept of a pound of flesh is a famous saying that we've all heard. And of course, the famous speech that Shylock gives. I won't even quote any of that, but people will find this, I think, familiar without realizing it until they hear some of these words spoken.
I don't think that's surprising. Shakespeare coined a whole lot of phrases, or I shouldn't say coined. Some of them were actually quite common in his time. They just weren't really put pen to paper. But they're one of the first times that we have these examples of many, many phrases, words, sayings in modern English language. It's where we get, like as you said before, the concept of a pound of flesh is from this show.
And I think that our aim, of course, is to breathe a different life into those words. That it's not going to be, if you've seen the movie version with Al Pacino, or if you've seen various versions of this show, certainly not here, not in a lot of years, but that we're hoping to bring something new to it. That's the whole impetus of doing shows that have been done before, is finding something different, finding something new in those words.
All right, anything else? Okay, thanks.
266 West Court Street is where the Reinerson House is.
Reinerson House. Is that a house or a business?
It's Devalle Printing.
Oh, Devalle Printing. Court Street, just around the corner, really, from the right across the street from the Sun News, almost.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
This is an important announcement for anyone prescribed the blood thinner medication Xarelto. If you or a loved one has been hospitalized or died from serious internal bleeding, including bleeding of the brain or gastrointestinal system after taking Xarelto, you may be entitled to substantial compensation. Don't delay. Call the Sentinel Group right now. The blood thinner medication Xarelto has been linked to an increased risk of severe internal bleeding, hemorrhaging, stroke, heart attack, and even death. If you or a loved one experienced severe internal bleeding, or if a loved one died as a result of taking the blood thinner medication Xarelto, call the Sentinel Group now. Our network of experienced attorneys are ready to help fight for you. You won't pay a thing until your case is settled. Call the Sentinel Group now for a free case evaluation. Don't wait. If you or a loved one has been hospitalized or died after taking Xarelto, you may be entitled to substantial compensation. Call the Sentinel Group right now.
Have you or a loved one suffered complications after uterine surgery from the use of a power morcellator? If so, call the Sentinel Group now. You may be entitled to significant compensation. The FDA estimates that 1 in 350 women undergoing a myomectomy or hysterectomy have unsuspected sarcoma or cancer in the uterus. The Sentinel Group's experienced network of attorneys have years of experience fighting big medical companies and is ready to fight for you. So if you've developed uterine cancer, call the Sentinel Group now for a free confidential consultation.
And that was a little piece on the production of Merchant of Venice showing at the Rio Grande Theater this weekend and a few weekends past that in different places. So hopefully you'll take a look at papers and go see that. One thing we love to do on the show, don't we love to do this, Mark? We love this. Taste alcohol. So we went to the special tasting rooms, the secret tasting rooms, and tasted 6 different gins. And I'm thinking we're using this intro, so we'll go ahead and you could take a look at what we have for you, and I'll be back at the end of the show to say bye. Next week, after, well, this week is over, Mark will be here with the guest host because I'm doing so much work now. We're going to start over here. This is a San Francisco gin, number 209. This gin is made in England and they send it over to Iceland for water. It's called Martin Miller's. This is a great gin.
Oh, so you say.
Yes. After having Hendrix, which I think is one of the phenomenal gins that turned me into a gin drinker, Martin Miller was just surprisingly even better. Old Tom gin is a special type of gin. This is Caymans brand. Old Tom was developed in the 1700s. It's a little sweeter and a little vanilla in it, and people used to get drunk all the time in England with it.
It's got more botanicals and flavorings, doesn't it?
Well, yeah,
It's
different ones.
It's an old gin.
Older gin. Blue Coat, this is an American gin. I think this is West Coast, and we'll talk about that when the time comes. This is a good weird one. This is Blackwoods. It's from Scotland, and it's made with Scottish botanicals found in the hills there. Also, it's fermented in a cask.
This last one,
Old Raj.
Raj. Gee, wonder where they got that name.
I don't know, but if you recall, gin is great in gin and tonic, and that's where gin and tonic started, which was India. And
Yes.
that has a lot of good botanicals.
We've all heard of Bombay gin.
Yes. So we're going to start with the gin on whatever side that is. And we're just going to drink these pure.
On the rocks, ice
on
cold.
On the ice cold.
As gin
neat.
should be.
Ice cold neat.
Yes.
This is a 209.
You know, it smells like a doctor's office.
Because it's alcoholic.
It is London dry.
I don't taste that much citrus in this. Tastes a little peppery.
Some spices is all it says it's got.
Some spices, but the juniper isn't really heavy in this. It's a smooth. Most people don't like gin because of the gin part of it, which is the juniper berries that they put in it to make it into gin.
Into gin.
These all have some gin berry or juniper berries in them. I don't think it'd be good in Negroni. Negroni, you need a stronger juniper.
Well, I think it'd be fine in a martini. It's just gin, you know? It's not gussied up with a bunch of other stuff like many.
Gussied up, he says. Well, that's it. All of these have frills and lace coming out of their pockets there.
And we'll be getting to those in just a minute. How do you like
It
that?
tastes very, very clear. It's got a smooth. The next gin we have is, as I stated before, Martin Miller.
Not to be confused with actor Martin Milner. Again, the key botanicals are juniper and fresh citrus.
Heavy citrus on this. Also, Martin Miller has, I think, about 20 different herbs. One of the
My
big
goodness,
ones
yes, it does.
is, which they don't state, is cucumber, to be sort of like Hendrix. Do you taste the cucumber? You can taste it.
As well as it's got a spicier finish too, doesn't it?
It's like peppered cucumber.
Very peppery.
But not, it's heavy peppery. I think this one's gonna have the most pepper. You know, gin is a good alternative to water. You know, people are supposed to be drinking a lot of gin, or a lot of water.
In some places the water's bad, you can't drink it, drink gin.
If, for instance, this gin has how much proof? I think it says so on one of those papers.
Our milk's 40%.
40%, so if it has 40% alcohol, that means you're drinking something that has 60% water. So you're almost drinking a glass of water. If you have a glass of gin, you're having...
You're getting your water, and it's purified.
Yes, some of these are purified. I think 209 is purified 3 times the water.
Well, the alcohol will purify it.
That too.
It's astringently pure.
And let's see. See,
this would be good in a martini too, but you would change the palate of the martini
to what?
Something with a spicy type of finish to it.
There's a little bit of coriander. You taste a little coriander. You're supposed to have coriander and all sorts of. Some of these have a little bit of, believe it or not, licorice. So we're going to just switch these out, and we'll be right back. We're back with the next 2 gins. This one we're starting with is Caymans, which is a British gin that comes from actually the 18th century, I think, Old Tom. I think we talked about this before during another show, where in the old days they'd have a black cat on the wall of the gin place.
Not a real cat, but
No, big picture of a cat, and you'd pull its tail and say, "Puss, puss, 2 pence of gin," and there'd be a tube coming out, and they chew 2 pence of gin. That's caused a lot of alcoholism in England, but it kept people from getting sick from bad water.
yes.
So here's to clean water.
Puss.
Puss, puss.
Now that's got a sweet tinge to
Whoa,
it.
yes. It's sugary, there's a little vanilla in it. See, those of you who don't have any respect for gin, there's an amazing flavor difference between them. So,
Yeah, I never realized that until we started getting into this. This says it's got licorice root.
you can taste a little licorice. You know, licorice is merely like black sugar in a way, right?
You know, I never cared for licorice.
but it's not
It doesn't
like
come in a way that is offensive.
it's not like anisette or Pernod or Absinthe.
Oh yeah, or Galliano.
Oh, Galliano. Hey, we're gonna do a Galliano tasting.
Oh, no, we're not.
That one? I got 1 bottle of Galliano.
Yeah, and you'll have it in. Come back in 20 years, you'll still have
I
it.
used it the other day. Then everybody's mad at me.
Use it for ant killer.
I used it in a margarita.
Oh God. I do like this Haymans. It's quite good.
It is. It's got a bigger mouthfeel. It almost feels like you could chew it. It feels like you're eating a Snickers bar.
Yes,
Do you feel that way?
and I almost wouldn't want to have a martini with it. I would just have that
Does
one.
it say what it should be with? I would think not a
It says-
martini.
It says a Martinez.
A Martinez is made with sweet vermouth, so that would work.
I see. Or Tom Collins. Again,
Tom
sweet.
Collins has sweet and sour. So that would work. So this would work more as a traditional, and as it says, it's like 300 years old, this one.
Okay.
This is an interesting one. This is the water's distilled like 5 times, I think, and it's made in Philadelphia, and that's why it's called Blue Coat. It's American dry gin.
Yeah, it says it's made botanical as lemon.
Let's see. I like the clink. It adds a flavor.
Yeah. Again, quite different.
Yeah, but I'm not really thrilled with this one. What do you think? It doesn't really have any flavor. It doesn't really have the juniper.
It says it's got piney juniper notes.
But doesn't really.
There's something there I can't quite place.
There's a homey little flavor, like there's a little bit of the anise, but not a lot. It only covers a certain amount of your tongue. It doesn't go. The flavor doesn't stay throughout your throat. It hits the tip of your tongue, and then evaporates. Is that a nice thing down there? It's a gin called Blackwood from Scotland. Did you say this already? It's from Scotland. It's made with flavors of cinnamon, marsh marigold. See if you can taste the marsh marigold when we do this. Lime, angelica or angelica, and coriander, as well as, of course, the necessary juniper. And this one I had to get from Flaviar online. Cool little place. So, what else did you find out from
Well, it's got sea pink flowers, violet flowers, turmeric,
turmeric, yes.
which is very good for you.
Oh, this is a health gin. To your health.
Let's see.
A votre santé. Or slanger. Slanger, as they say in Scotland. Wow.
I like this much better than the blue.
Man, this is like eating a mouthful of posies. And
those-
taste all that, there's all this little acidy stuff going on too.
And those flowers from the marsh are mellow.
Mellow marshmallows.
I'm sure it'll taste them all.
Well, you count
Right,
open
good.
your tongue, let me see. There's at least 7 flavors floating around in there. Thank you for watching us drink
Yeah.
gin, because we
Where else
enjoy
can you get a job
Hopefully you're doing this along with us. Next time we'll post our drinks
In
ahead of
advance.
time so you could
Just go and buy the
follow
bottle.
along. People do that all the time.
If we sell enough bottles of gin, we get a free one.
Yes,
So-
just say Michael and Mark sent you. That's clean enough, right?
Okay.
Because this
At
next
this
one,
point-
this next one, Old Raj. I hope I
Old
poured
Raj.
stuff into this. This I just got from this.
It doesn't look like there's much missing.
No, this is the first tasting we ever had of this one. I've never tasted this one.
55%.
Well, I think this one only has 46% alcohol.
So London
It says,
Dry? It says, consider the safest from mixing with other types of beverages. I'm not sure what that means.
I don't know either. I haven't tasted it. But I'm thinking it said it had a lot of, it smells like it has a lot of pepper in it.
Well, it says almond, orris root,
Almond,
and
orris root.
saffron. Saffron is very rare and expensive herb.
This is Old Raj. It's sold at Specs. I think it goes for $45.
Wow. It's almost not like gin.
I'm not tasting the pepper.
Well,
what are you tasting?
Yeah, there's no pepper in this.
It's just light.
I'm not sure what I'm tasting.
There's not juniper. There's very little juniper
If it's
in this.
there, it's very subtle.
You could use this probably like vodka, which means you can make a martini with it, and it's still a vodka or gin martini. You can
know the difference. Yeah. This may be the most unusual, I think, flavors up here
This must be the most unusual of all flavors.
of the gins.
Really?
This was my least favorite. This blue coat. This, I'm not sure if I like this or not. Well, Michael, do you have a favorite? I sure like.
This had the most flavor. The Blackwood. I know. You know, the Caymans is good, but not for everything because it's so sweet.
Yes.
The Martin Miller is a great substitute, although I think it's more expensive than Hendrick's, but it's got a lighter flavor than Hendrick's, and it's certainly like that.
Those two on the end,
These two
I like
are pretty
a
good.
lot.
The 209 is a good anything mixer. You'll have to come to one of our tastings. Call us up. That means you, D. Is that the only person watching?
Alan.
Alan. Oh yeah. Bob Libby.
Beth.
Bob. Yes. All you people who watch us
We have
have
more
to come for
listeners
these.
and watch.
We do love our gins. I never really liked gin that much until I tasted Hendrick's, and now I am enamored with all the variations of it. And hopefully you learned a little bit so that maybe you can try some things. We've done shows on Negronis and martinis, and we will come back and do some other things. So nothing has happened in the last half hour that I can tell you about in terms of news. Perhaps there was, I don't know. Mark will be here next week with a guest co-host, and hopefully everything goes smoothly. We are happy we still have gay marriage throughout this free United States. Maybe not everybody's happy, but not everybody has to get married to somebody who's gay. So let them be happy. We'll see you next week, or the week after, or a week after that. And thanks for all of you loyal viewers for staying tuned. Bye.